Welcome to Planning My Escape, Episode 7. I thought I'd talk a little about the importance of context and history. It's something that's really struck home to me recently, especially since I've started working on the documentary on Trinity Bellwoods, which is an underground river that runs through the neighborhood of Toronto I live in. As well as that internet meme of the sheep that's going around with 35 kilograms of fleece on it. What got me about that specifically was that growing up, I never believed any of the myths or historical accounts where people had used fleece as a means to disguise themselves and hide from giants or enemies or all that kind of stuff. Or really understood the phrase lamb in sheep's clothing until I saw that photo. And once you see the photo, you realize, oh yeah, it'd be easy enough. You could easily hide under something like that. I can easily see how a really smart wolf dressed like that could fool pretty well anyone from a distance. And it got me thinking about the number of things like that, where until you really see things in any kind of context, they just don't make a whole bunch of sense. Another example of that would be when I started playing the Rome 2 video game, which was the same thing, because up until then it never really dawned on me how factional Roman sort of Republican politics were. And if you don't understand how things worked, none of the rest of it really makes a whole bunch of sense. It's just a bunch of meaningless numbers and dates and historical places, half of which you're going to forget about in a few minutes. And I think it's really important because we seem to be sliding into an era where we're told that context means nothing, which is completely frightening, because without context, there is no real history. What history is then there just is floating around as something that has no connection with us as individuals or us as people. And the idea that we shouldn't learn about what good and bad has happened in the past is a truly frightening thought. Like this whole idea of the end of history is one that I just do not give any real credence to, because I think that all it is a means for people in power to turn around and cover up for their own malfeasance, and hope that no record of it will survive, and they'll basically get away with it. And I just don't think, I don't think that it'll work, but beyond that, I don't think that the sentiment is one that should be in any way condoned by the rest of us. I also decided I was going to take my time with the video, because it doesn't make sense to rush something like it when I can post one of these videos up quickly and please both the algorithms and anyone who's sort of following along. Interestingly, I showed a friend who's been helping me with the project the rough cut that I finished yesterday, and he made some really good constructive criticism. And one of the things he brought up is, I think, something that I'm going to be dealing with as I continue doing these sort of historical documentaries. And that is what responsibility you have as a historical, content creator. Is it your job to go into every single detail about a story and make up for the fact that most people don't know very much about Canadian, let alone Toronto history? Is it your job to paper over what are now sacred cows and attack those completely out of context who do things that now would be unacceptable? how much of it ends up having to be, ideologically driven and political. And I think the tack that I've decided to take is I am more interested in telling personal stories. I'm more interested in trying to find connections, and I'm really more interested in trying to show a little bit about how much things have changed and how quickly in a city like Toronto, where we've literally gone from a couple of thousand people to 6 million in a little over 200 years, which is, it's astonishing. It's a story of a lot of places in North America. Toronto and Chicago are probably the closest closest comparison, because they were very similar in a lot of ways. Great Lake cities, major sort of rail heads, major areas for, for manufacturing, major centers for incoming immigration in the 19th century. And yeah, and I, I've started this series. It already has become very interesting. I've already got ideas for 2 follow-ups to it. And as I do research, I just continually come across things that I think, wow, I've got to do something about that, because I had no idea just how much of a sense of humor history has, is I guess the best way to put it, and how revealing things are, how little things change, how much they've changed at the same time. Anyway, I'm going to get off of here for now and get back to work. I've got that documentary to finish. You might see that next. You might see me again on one of these next. I'm not sure. We'll see how things go. In any case, take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.